modular frame ecosystem. And so on the screen, when you go into the settings, you can actually just touch swap. In just a couple seconds, there's an electromechanical latch.
Oh, wow.
And this entire top frame comes off. And the reason why we did that is it allows us a really broad spectrum of personality, sizes, utility use cases. And so we have a few different top frames. This one is our Solo, so it's the most simple one for kind of recreation, fun riding, or lightweight commuting with a backpack. It allows us to have different sizes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two sizes of this that covers a height range from 4'11" all the way to 6'8". So you can actually configure this for a few different people in a household, as an example, off of one platform. But importantly, while it can be this bike, it can also be this bike, which is what I use very often. I carry my kid to school every morning on the back of one of these, but this is a very high capacity rack to 65 pounds, is that right? 75 pounds on the rack, so you can carry a kid up to about 10 years old or so, of course younger, a bunch of farmers market produce. And the fun thing is, actually before I put this on, I'll show you, there's one more. To start off with, we have kind of like 3 different versions, and so this one is kind of like a fun little accessible bench concept, and so this is meant to be highly accessible for people that may not identify as cyclists and don't want to sit up high and pedal that much. And so this is like a really low accessible seating surface. It's lower to the ground. You can flat foot in an intersection very easily and scoot around as kind of like a get about around town. But the idea is, once you've chosen kind of like the one that you want, to configure it is as simple as this. So I'm just going to drop this on, and it automatically detects, and in just a couple of seconds it's fully mechanically and structurally latched to the product. It passes through power, so they all have lights that pass through. They're all uniquely identified, and so they're serialized. It knows that, say, this one is mine. When I pop this one on, all the settings reconfigure to my personal profile and preferences. If my spouse happens to ride this one, when she puts hers on, it'll reconfigure to all her settings and profiles and preferences as well. So it's as simple as touching the screen. A couple of seconds, it comes off. You lift it off. And then again, so this is how it works. There's electrical contacts that automatically interface and detect, and so it sends power through and detects which one that you put on.
That seems like heavy duty contacts
Very
just
heavy duty.
For lights.
Very. Well, I mean, it's also designed to be like highly reliable. It's a structural connection, and so we want it to be like very durable, to be able to like pop on and be able to send it.
You mentioned different profiles. Can you have different profiles for the same seat?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we'll go into that, a little bit of that much more deeply. There's kind of like a really rich user experience that we'll touch on. So that's kind of like the first thing, which is the kind of like modularity of the entire platform, rather than buying a bunch of different bikes. Like you could have a fleet of bikes with really one platform. The next thing we wanted to solve for was an entire kind of like propulsion and drivetrain experience. And so what is happening now within the e-bike space is very similar to, again, electric cars early on, which is like, it's a traditional architecture and then you bolt on a motor. And so almost all e-bikes in the market today are really traditional bike architecture, meaning chains, derailleurs, gears, or some variant thereof that happen to also have a motor and a battery attached to it. So we wanted to rethink all of that, and the 2 primary reasons why were, 1, traditional bike drivetrain is the most common failure point and a source of maintenance requirements on a bike or an e-bike. And then secondly, by definition, it's not software defined. It's kind of like a mechanical structure that's, once you bought it, it's always there, and that's the experience you're always going to have no matter what. And so we've built an in-house propulsion system that's here. It's called Dream Ride, and it's highly software defined, and allows us to deliver a really broad range of user experiences through one set of hardware. So I'm going to explain it a little bit, but you'll get it instantly when we go and try it out outside. But just to give you a flavor of the breadth again of the user experience, out of the box, the default mode is fully automatic. And what that means is when you hop on the bike, you just pedal, And you pedal harder and faster, it'll go faster, and it'll automatically adapt as you do that. You pedal slower, it'll go slower. And so if you can see over here, really the only input, I'll put it into ride mode here. So the only input is how easy or hard you want the experience to be. So this is a toggle, and I just have to click it up or down. And as I do that, the higher I go, the more assist, or the easier the ride gets. It goes all the way up to 10. You can dial it all the way back down to 1, which is the least assist and the most effort you put in. And that's really it. That's really the only input you have to think about kind of out of the box. Now, there are other people that may want a much more kind of enthusiast type experience. One of the scenarios that we know about and hear a lot about is trail riding, as an example. A lot of times if you're riding a technical trail, you want the predictability of being in fixed gear and knowing what gear you're in and being able to command the shift whenever you want. So we actually can shift it into a manual shift trail ride type mode, where then you have discrete ratios just like on a normal bike, and using the same toggle instead of assist, that becomes the gear shifter, and it's actually shifting through fixed ratios just like on any other regular bike. It just happens that those are very, very fast and very reliable and consistent shifts that happens.
Now, looking down at the, I guess, gearbox on there, is that mechanically connected to the sprocket up there?
Yeah, we'll show you the inside in just a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll show you the inside
So
and how it all works.
It's not like pedal by wire or anything.
Yeah, we'll show you. We'll show you.
Great.
So the other thing about it's not just kind of like the pedal UX and the expansiveness of what happens with the pedal UX. The ability for us to influence the propulsion and controls and the software behind it gives us the ability to do really wonderful things like hill flattening. As an example, so you ride up a hill, the bike knows that you're riding up a hill, and everything adapts so that it feels like you're actually, the grade is much lower than it is, and potentially even flat if it's low enough. And wonderfully, when you come down the other side, instead of spinning out, you can actually flatten the other side as well. And the reason why we can do that is we have incredible regeneration. And so the amount of regen torque that we can put back into Dream Ride is high enough where something like 90% of your braking events is all regen. So it's actually much more similar to a modern electric car than any electric bike that exists in the market. And the way that works is, we'll feel it when we go and try it, is the first part of the lever stroke commands regen, and then it smoothly blends into the normal hydraulic brakes after that. And it's very, very natural. It's hard for you to even tell like where that transition happens. But because the regen torque is so strong, it creates a system that's much more efficient because we're recuperating that energy, but also just the braking experience is much better. I think typical bike braking experience is okay, but it's variable. They get hot, they don't work as well. They get wet, they don't work as well. And this allows us to make it very consistent.
I see you have ABS on the front.
Yeah, it's a tone wheel to be able to give, it's actually like ABS is primarily in the rear for us, and the tone wheel allows us to do that.
It also means the brake pads last much
longer, just like in a modern electric car. So we'll go way deeper into Dream Ride when we ride into the other lab where we can like show you the exploded parts and how it all works. The next thing I want to touch on is how it's all powered, which is the battery. So in pretty much every e-bike that exists today, the battery is really just useful as a power plant or a power source for the e-bike. And they're almost always this kind of like black extruded canister with a proprietary plug. And maybe you can remove it to go charge and you bring it back to the bike, and that's all it is. And so we thought, well, this is actually a really high capacity thing that has a lot of value. Why don't we make it useful beyond just being the battery for the bike? And so this is our battery, and if the bike is locked, I'll go through kind of like the lock experience in a little bit. The battery is electrically latched to the bike so you can't remove it. But since the bike is unlocked right now, I can simply do this, and it comes out. And it's a really nice object, intentionally a really nice object to carry around, put on your desk and charge. So you can charge the bike through this battery. If you want to charge the bike directly, by the way, there's a USB-C, latest USB-C 3 PD standard, so 240 watts.
Oh wow, that's the first device I've ever heard that
240 watts charging into the bike. This battery is also a power bank,
right,
in addition to being the power source. So it has an e-ink display for state of charge, but it also has 2 bi-directional USB-C ports.
Okay.
One of which is the PD3 standard 240 watt bidirectional. And so all of a sudden, the battery source for your bike becomes a really, really capable power bank device. So you can charge your MacBook at full wall outlet speed multiple times over, all sorts of personal electronic devices. So you can carry this camping to the park, picnic, what have you, and have if you went and bought a power bank of this capacity, it's actually quite a bit of retail value, and a lot of them aren't as nice to kind of carry around. And
We just use a free bike with every power bank.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Different way of thinking about it.
That's right. That's right. So that's our battery. Kind of like reinsert this here. Stop that. So it's as simple as that. The next thing that I wanted to show you is a little bit of kind of like the overall user experience of the product. And to do that, I was going to use this one. This one has kind of like a party trick on it that we've developed. And to tell you about the party trick, I first have to kind of explain the kind of genesis of how it came about. So the hand controls, we have all custom hand controls for input, and I'll explain a little bit about what these all do. But for now, I just wanted to show you one thing. There's a trigger that your index finger can wrap around and hit. And if you click it, it's a turn signal. So the rear is flashing, the front is flashing, there's a telltale that's going on the screen, so you can see that there's a turn signal. I can click it again, it turns off. Same thing happens on this side. And so that was the reason why we designed that, like those switches around in. But because we own the full software stack and the full electronic stack internally, we're able to try really fun, creative things. And so this is actually an idea that one of our engineers came up with, and in half a day, wrote the code and deployed it to the bike. And it's to solve a pain point that we've all been through, like I've been through, which is you're at an intersection and your pedals are in the wrong spot, and you're always like doing this, like kicking them back to like, okay, I gotta start. And so what the engineer did was, if I double click this turn signal, it clocks to the pedal position on this side. If I double click this switch, it clocks to that side. So it's kind of like a really delightful, it feels small, but it's actually like a really thoughtful thing that we're able to deliver and enable because we own the full stack. This is something that I know you're really native to, the world that I came from, and really traditional OE, whether it's automotive or this space. These products are typically built, you have an OE, and then all the modules come from tier 1 suppliers, like Bosch, as an example. And when you have tier 1 suppliers that have their kind of like black box firmware for all these different modules, to be able to do a feature like that requires this negotiation and coordination with usually more than one tier 1 supplier. And that process is just, the time scale is months. It's like 3, 4, 5, 6 months to do. And it's just a pain to do it. Whereas if you really own the full stack down to the bare metal on all the boards, it's a half-day event for an engineer to deploy a feature like that and OTA it into the product.
And I think what really excites us about that is, we're going to have thousands and thousands of riders being able to tell us what features do they want, what experiences are there, and the ability for us to be in conversation with that community and then roll over-the-air updates out rapidly to meet those needs, to meet those desires. It means that this product gets better with time, unlike a standard bike that kind of just degrades from the day you buy it. So we will constantly improve that experience based on our dialogue with our community.
And you're not doing everything, like, I see the Gates carbon drive belt.
Yeah, that's actually a great call out. So it's just like Rivian or any auto.
Right.
There's some commodities where it just doesn't make sense.
Right.
Like it's and like we want to standardize some things to make it easy to like service. And so like the brake pads are like pretty standard. The tires are standard interface, like standard size. There's not a crazy size that we've made.
But is that 22?
24.
24. Okay.
Yeah, very close. Yeah, so it's a 24-inch gauge drive, and so like a lot of the consumables are very standard. Like we don't want to veer from something that made it hard for someone to be able to service it.
I don't think 24 is the most common.
It's not
tire,
the most common, but like there
around.
exists. Yeah, you could go to a bike shop and be like, I need a 24-inch tire, and they could either have it or very easily get it because like there's a set of manufacturers that create that size.
Is that tube tire?
Yes, it's tubed.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. We actually, it's a common interface, but this particular tire, we kind of similar to what happens a lot in automotive, is we co-developed it with the tire CM, so everything from the casing to the tread is kind of like developed for this use case, because it's like a pretty unique application in terms of how capable it is.
Will you sell this with off-road tires?
Yes,
or,
we have we'll show you a version of it in the next space, but we will have an all-terrain package that's an option, so that'll go to off-road, the pedals will change, we'll actually have ride modes that are like trail specific as well. So we can go into some of those details, but yeah.
It looks like there's room, at least on the front, for a bigger
Totally.
wheel. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Okay, I wanted to give you a little bit of a glimpse into the overall kind of like user experience, the UI, we call it kind of like our infotainment. So as you would expect with a vertically integrated approach, all the software, the display driver, everything is ours and in-house. The down tube actually has a computer inside and all our connectivity is in there as well. So we have LTE, Bluetooth, GPS, Wi-Fi, NFC, the works. And what doing all that allows us to do is deliver an experience that is frankly expected out of a modern vehicle experience, such as phone as a key. And so we can have an experience, I'll put it back into a lock, where I don't have it paired to my phone right now, but if I walk up to this with my phone paired as a key, it'll greet me, say, hey, welcome Chris, everything will unlock. The really cool thing is as I walk away, it'll lock. And what that means is when it locks, several things happen in concert. And the reason why is because, as you know, anti-theft and theft is one of the biggest pain points in this space. Like it's kind of like the main concern. It's like, well, if I use this thing to go do an errand, I don't want to worry about whether my bike's still going to be there when I come back. It's kind of like one of the biggest detractors. And so of course it's still a small object relative to a car, so there's always going to be a vector if you can pick it up and put it in a truck and carry it away. But we thought through what are all the things that we can do short of that vector to make this a much more seamless anti-theft experience. And so when you walk away and it locks, what locking means is the battery is electrically latched, so you can't turn the handle and pull it out when the bike's locked. Of course, there's no way to remove the top frame with the bike locked. But interestingly, the wheel is actually physically always connected to our Dream Ride system, and so they're latched together, which means the wheel can't turn when it's locked.
So this is locked, like this?
That's right.
Okay.
It's locked, so the wheel can't turn when the bike is locked, so you can't push it.
That makes sense if it's regenning.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. We decouple the cranks so they can't propel anything on the bike when it's locked. And we have IMUs or motion sensors on the product. So when you're away and it's locked, if someone jostles it like that, you'll get a push notification saying your bike just got jostled. If unfortunately it still is moving away because it has LTE and GPS, you'll get a notification, hey, it's actually being stolen and moving away in the breadcrumb. Of course, the bike's going wild. It says, hey, you're being tracked by GPS, the lights are going off, alarms and everything. And in the most unfortunate case, if it's actually like going off, you can remotely brick it or disable it. And that's a really important thing to kind of stop on for a second. Because we own 100% of the software and the boards and the modules, bricking it means like Apple bricking it.
Right.
None of it is useful on its own until the owner says it's not stolen and we unbrick it.
Right.
So really the only vector that remains is you take it and you melt it for metal goods.
Sell it for...
That's right. But that's really the only use. Like there's no use for any of like the parts individually or the bike in aggregate after it's bricked. So that's kind of like some idea of the like overall capability, but I wanted to show you some of the UI. So starting with this, so most e-bikes, to be able to turn it on and off is kind of like a plastic button that looks like it came from a Casio or something. You're like sitting there like, did it turn on or not? Right. And so we want our experience to be much more tactile and affirming from a vehicle standpoint. So similar to a car with a park, reverse, drive, neutral lever, this is our portal. We call it our portal. So this selector actually rotates into a detent and past. And so what that happens is now it's in park. So it's in a park state. It says rotate to rise, so you rotate it past a detent and you're into ride. This is the main kind of dashboard, if you will. It has state of charge. You can tap it and it'll show you estimated range. So it's kind of like highly predictive depending on the mode that you're in. It has a power bar, which you'll experience. So it's kind of similar to a Rivian, where it'll show you how much power is going out versus how much you're regenerating back in.
So you're going to get 100 miles out of that battery?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, in the lowest assist. That's right. Yeah. That's exactly right. This is speed, this is assist, so it's in lowest assist mode, as I showed you before. You can easily toggle this like really nice tactile feeling toggle. That'll change the assist level, and that shows you here. And then we have a bunch of ride modes as well. We've only developed a few for now, and tuned a few, but if you hit this, There's auto mode, so we have all-purpose, we have sport. There's manual, so we have a trail mode that's kind of like manual shift as well, and like everything kind of reconfigures in terms of the maps. In this case, it's like a shifting experience. And when we go out there, we'll try all these out. So they all have like different personalities and different capabilities involved. So auto all-purpose is the one that comes out of the box. So that's kind of like the main screen. It's touch, as you can see, and swipeable. We actually have the ability, so for those people that are comfortable doing that while riding, great, you can do it. If not, you can actually use this multimedia control pad. So this has multiple different programmable functions. By default, it controls the screen, so if I click this, it'll sequence through different pages. It'll come back around and show you these pages. But you can also program this to be a play, pause, start, stop, accept, decline, call. And this is a volume control by default. I don't have my phone paired, so if I turn it, it says no phone connected, but usually it's a volume control. So it's really kind of like a multimedia remote for your phone, which I'll get to in a second. We have a stats screen that's highly personalizable and configurable, so everyone has their favorite stats that they want to look at, and so like we can configure that on this screen. This is our navigation screen, so I don't have my phone paired with a navigation instruction or a destination, so it's a compass right now.
So move. Like that?
Oh no, the entire bike, when the entire bike moves, it'll move. Okay. But importantly, this screen, when you use the also app and put it in a destination, it'll relay a digestible version of a map here, so you can see kind of like what the next turns are. Importantly, you probably have seen this, but with like Google cycling directions, the ETAs are woefully off because it thinks you're on the world's slowest bike,
right.
And so it's like way off. Because we know in our navigation engine what assist level you're in, how fast you're going, what the state of charge of the bike is, the terrain, we can actually give you a really precise ETA and a really precise estimate of your ending state of charge. Okay. So you can figure out, hey, do I need to charge? Am I going to make a round trip?
Are you sharing maps data with Rivian, or is it?
Yeah, we have a really friendly relationship with Rivian, and so when it comes to data that's useful for customers, we have a really strong partnership for things like that. But our baseline is actually a completely in-house navigation engine that's tuned for this particular mode of transport. The last screen I want to show you is our multimedia screen. So this is basically a relay of the multimedia that's playing on your phone. So if you're listening to a podcast, music, taking a phone call, that all shows up here. And again, there's kind of like a nice physical tactile control. So this is kind of like a pad for you to be able to play, pause, accept or decline a call.
Is there a speaker on this, or is there headphones for that?
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
So the reason why we did all of this is because we had a lot of insights with people. And what we learned very rapidly was, hey, people are driving a car, and a lot of times that's the time they use to listen to the daily podcast, or they use that time to take a call. And a lot of people were like, well, this is a great mode, it's a lot of fun, in fact it could be faster than my car drive a lot of times, but I'm missing out on my daily podcast time. And so we wanted to create an answer for that. Half the answer is just really tight and smart integration to multimedia controls. The other half, to your point, is how do you consume it. And right now, a lot of people are just putting AirPods in. It's not super safe. It's kind of like blocking out the surroundings and fall out.
Right.
And so the other half of the equation is a helmet that we just co-developed with TMB as well. And so we partnered with a former colleague of mine. His name's Greg Shapley. You'll actually meet him on the other side. He's one of the world's foremost experts in helmets. He led helmet design at Giro Bell Sports for many years. Specialized for a while. Helped bring MIPS up off the ground and is involved with some of the latest technologies, which we'll tell you about. So this has, we believe, the latest and greatest technology in helmet safety, especially for traumatic brain injury. So we'll tell you how a bit of that works in a little bit. But importantly, to your question, it has integrated audio. So there's 4 speakers, 2 on each side. They're wind-shielded by design. There's 2 noise-canceling microphones in the brow of the helmet. And they've all been tuned such that you can take a call at 25 miles an hour on the bike, and the person on the other side will not know that you're on a bike going 25 miles an hour. And we know this because Saul does this all the time. He calls in from the bike to meetings, and we have no idea that he's rolling around that speed.
Usually just in the parking lot, but he just
go back and forth.
What's this here for?
This you'll see on the other side, but this is for signature lighting. So there's actually an LED strip that side fires and actually reflects across this panel. So at night the entire thing glows, and so it creates a really, really large signature, which we know and have seen increases the readability of the person on the bike at night.
It's also viewable from the side, and Greg will go deeply into why they designed it that way.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
And I
we're
see
really
these-
excited about this product.
These are turn signals as well?
No, so these are two different
Okay.
headlamps, and so we actually have, Greg will kind of like go into the details, but one's actually like a high beam long throw, so you can use your head to steer, look down an alleyway, you see a sign, point at a driver. The other is actually a wide diffuse task light, so you can use it to like find keys in your bag and not have to take out your phone to turn on the flashlight.
You ready to ride?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions before we go try it out?
Just the seat, is that a suspension seat or is that?
No, if you come over here, so this is a classic seat post, but on the suspension point, you'll feel this and love this. It's actually very capable and in-house optimized kinematics, full suspension front and rear. So there's 120 millimeters of travel, wheel travel, both front and rear. And we designed it primarily because we wanted this to be really truly a vehicle grade experience. And it has enough propulsive capability, I mean 10x assist, that, and this is a design brief, we wanted the average person to be able to commute.
10x assist, can you say in wattage what that is? Or?
No, so torque is really the thing that kind of like shows up, and so the comparative point there is we have 175 newton meters of torque at the wheel, which is, as you probably know, more than twice most other systems, and so it's highly capable from like being able to climb over a really steep grade with your head on the back kind of thing. But importantly, it also allows the average person to commute, if they choose, at 20 plus miles an hour, which is kind of like if you're going 20 plus miles an hour, you can beat a car trip in a lot of cases, because the average speed is like about that or slower.
Right.
But we wanted the average person to be able to choose to do that and not sweat, like really not exert effort if they don't want to. Of course, if they want to exert a lot of effort, they can. And so that led to us saying, okay, well, if the average person that may not be like an incredible bike handler can go 20 plus miles an hour easily, well, we need to make sure, like, what happens if they hit a pothole? And if you hit a pothole on a typical bike, like that's a jarring experience and unsafe. And so this suspension, like really the primary purpose is like the bike can take care of hitting a pothole or some other thing on the road at 20 plus miles an hour and confidently get you through it. It just so happens the kinematics to do that make it an amazing trail bike as well. And so it's a really, really great off-road experience with the whole terrain package as well.
Are you comfortable saying the weight or the
Yeah. Well, so the weights, I'll give you some context because it's like there's not a great apples to apples comparison because we have this modular ecosystem where it can change to a whole bunch of different types of categories, but we designed it around probably the most strenuous one, which is the utility dock frame and being able to carry 75 pounds of load on the back. And so compared to any utility bike that has a similar payload capability, pretty high payload capability and full suspension, we're pretty much right down the middle. And so this will weigh anywhere from kind of like the high 70s.
I was going to say 80s, my guess.
Yeah, and then up from there, depending on how you configure it, because I mean, you just can't cheat if you want to be able to carry that huge payload and have like the capable suspension and propulsive capability. But here's the really cool thing. Where weight comes into play from kind of like our personal experience and insights from a lot of people using these products is like, okay, you're trying to put it onto a hitch rack to drive to Yosemite to like bring it along recreation. And in that use case, you can drop around 25 pounds in 10 seconds, no troubles. This comes off,
the battery
comes off, and all of a sudden you're 25 pounds lighter.
Carry weight is suddenly incredibly light.
Yeah, that's right. So it's kind of like a really nice, thoughtful way to address the most common use case of needing to like hoist it.
I'd be interested though when you ride it, it feels incredibly light and more natural as you ride it. So I'd be interested to see what your experience is like.
Want to try it out?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right.
Cool.